This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. On the Eat, Explore, Love podcast, we are now delving into discussions about self-love and travel with people other than myself. I'm so excited that my first bonus episode is with Angie Orth, author of the book Flirting with Disaster, which was released to the world on March 12th. She hosts podcasts like one with her sister, But Did You Die with the Jet Sisters, and Traveling with AAA. As a travel expert and content creator, Angie has visited more than 60 countries. Her story is eerily similar to mine, so I'm going to stop talking and tell you just start listening to the podcast. Hope you enjoy. Hi, Angie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming. So I saw that you are a former New Yorker. Now, were you born and raised in New York, or did you just spend a good chunk of life living in New York?
I lived there a few years after college. I'm originally from Florida, and
Okay.
after college, I moved to Atlanta and then decided to make all my dreams come true and move to the Big Apple. So I lived there for, I think, 5 years before going on to my next chapter.
That's totally fair. I was born and raised in New York, and I actually moved out of New York about 2 years ago. So I envy the
Where,
fact that
where
you
in
were
New York are
able.
you from?
Long Island. It's always nice to see a fellow New Yorker. And did you enjoy your time in New York, or were you 5 years you've had your fill? It's nice to visit, but not wanting to visit too much.
No, I loved it. I still love it. I think I probably would have stayed there forever if I'd not gone on to traveling and sort of that next step in my career, but I loved it. I love New York. The city is amazing. The people always say it's the energy and it's this. It really is.
Yes.
I can't get enough. Even though it is dirty and it is loud and it is all the things that people say the negatives and the downsides, but I don't know. There's something about it. It's magical for all its flaws.
Yes, I always, when people are like, oh, what are some things that I should do if I go to New York? I'm like, well, I know Times Square is a big no-no if you're a local to New York, but I feel like there's a reason why everybody goes to Times Square, why
Yes,
it's an attraction. Because I love the chaos of it. But
I do
for
too.
sure. So I guess it's a good segue of, you were in New York until you went on to your traveling portion of your career. What made you want to start traveling? Was there a person or a book or a movie that inspired you, or a family member?
Yeah. It was probably a lot of things. Everything kind of in my whole life funneled me into making this decision to travel around the world by myself for a year. That was the idea. And yes, it was eat, pray, love, and it was wild, and it was all those things that make small town girls think, oh, it's better everywhere else and I got to go find my dream out there. I mean, that's how I ended up in New York, you know?
Hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
loved it and it was great, and I was like, now what's the next dream and what's the next dream? So that is kind of what pushed me out there. I knew that I wanted to travel, and I actually worked in travel. I was a publicist at a big PR firm in New York, and I worked exclusively on travel accounts, so destinations, cruise lines, airlines, travel websites. That was my whole world. And I love PR, I love travel, all of that was great, but didn't really have a lot of time. Even though I had a decent vacation package, I could never really take it because there was
Right.
always something going on with work. So, even I remember sitting on the beach in Hawaii. I finally used my air miles and went to Hawaii for Thanksgiving by myself one year. And I was on the beach with my Blackberry because things just don't stop when you're in PR. So
Hmm.
it was after kind of figuring that out after a few years that I was like, I'm gonna have to leave this if I ever want to actually go anywhere far flung. And I really wanted to go to Australia and New Zealand and get to the other side of the globe. And I just didn't have time to do it with my work schedule. So that's pretty much what led me to the next step. But travel was kind of always a thread in my life.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that it was your eat, pray, love time. I mean, I am currently in right now what you were discussing as far as your year traveling the world, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're doing your eat, pray, love time." So that's where the name of this podcast actually came from. I have celiac, so I wanted to talk about the different places I ate that were gluten free that people could use as a resource. And then I don't pray, I explore. So hence eat, explore, love. But did you have a desire? Because when I was a kid and I read a ton and I spent a lot of time by myself reading books, and that made me, in addition to, I loved TV and film, and I had this desire to be like, okay, I want to go and visit what's in this book or what was shown in that movie. I want to have actually stepped on those steps. So that made me desire more international travel. Was that the same for you, that you just wanted the whole entire globe, or were you more so being like, I'll go anywhere if it's, to New York, or if it's to LA, that's good enough for me? Or did you wanted the universe as your map, so to speak?
I
Like,
think I wanted it all. I think I still want it all. I
yeah.
want to visit every place that there is to visit. And that year abroad, the idea was to check off a lot of big bucket list countries, like far flung places. I think I was intending to do 6 continents in 12 months. I only did five due to things that come up in the book.
Yeah.
Boys, gross. Um, and the things that tend to derail your train. And yeah, I just wanted to go everywhere, and I knew if I didn't give myself that time, I was never going to get around to it. I also had this ridiculous idea in my head that I did this travel my 29th year. So I left right after I turned 29, intended to spend my 30th birthday out traveling alone and then come back and get serious about life, right? Settle down, I don't know, get another real job and like have some kids or something, because that's what was expected of me to do at the time. And so that was just the crazy idea that I had in my head of what it was supposed to be like. But really, I just wanted to get out there and see the places, like you said, from the books and from the movies. And it's crazy when I look back to see how much of, I guess, my travel bucket list, to put it, in a cliche way, but how much of that was influenced by movies and TV and books. And I had this little encyclopedia set when I was a kid called Childcraft, and one of the volumes was like all these cool travel things you can see around the world. And that, I just remember reading that when I was maybe 8, and I devoured it. And I was like, I must go see the glowworm caves in New Zealand, and I must go. There were just all these mysterious, exciting things, and I had to see them. And it's so funny how that developed my whole entire like adult bucket list. And then anything Jane Austen related, I have to go there.
Hmm.
Harry Potter, all those kind of fun things definitely just informed my travels along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of flabbergasted listening to your story, and I'm about to turn 29, so our stories are pretty much the same.
Yep.
But
Yep.
because I'm finding in this past year that I am evolving I don't want to say changing because I don't believe that people change. I believe you are born as you are, and then circumstances kind of further shape you. And I feel myself
Mm-hmm.
evolving into the person that I was always supposed to be. Did you find that you had that same experience when you were, especially traveling alone? Did you feel that you were had the room to do that?
Yes, and I think I also went into it very anti having that kind of evolution. Like, I'm not going out there for eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that. I already know who I am. I'm not trying to have it. I just want to travel. Like, that was my whole thing. And you can't help but change
Right.
and evolve as you go. And that's no matter where you are.
Hmm.
You're always evolving. And you just might do it in a bit of a different or elevated or a faster way when you're traveling alone and you're literally making 10,000 decisions a day and keeping yourself safe and keeping yourself healthy. All those things, that's a lot to do. And you think you're going to be on this vacation and sipping umbrella drinks by the pool, and there's not as much time to have that kind of fun, especially if you're moving and grooving.
Right.
Like folks who do slow travel, which I so admire and wish I had more time to do, but like 6 weeks in one place, not just in one country, but say one apartment, one Airbnb. That is such a wonderful luxury. That's a different
Right.
kind of travel than what I was doing, which was oftentimes packing up and going to another place every 2 nights. And that's just exhausting.
Yes.
And I really expected it to be so much more refreshing, and I was not refreshed
Yeah.
by any stretch. I was evolved, and I guess you could probably happier, and a lot of things were improved, but refreshed was not one of the things that happened in a year away. It definitely made me question a lot of things I thought about myself
Mhm.
and about what I wanted in life. And I didn't mean to do that, but I think it can't help but happen to you if you kind of take a leap and throw yourself out there.
Do you have a specific example of that? And I can give one for myself if that makes it feel more comfortable to share.
Yes. Oh, what's yours?
I get so for me, I think the biggest change is learning. So if I to get really personal, I saw certain examples of how relationships were supposed to be all throughout growing up, with my parents, grandparents, and
Mhm.
aunts and uncles and things like that. And I think I went into relationships with certain expectations, and there were things that I would react in very unhealthy and toxic ways to my partner that it caused me to not bring out the best in that person and them not bring out the best in me. And so on this trip, there are certain times where I have epiphanies of, oh, when they did this, this is why I reacted a certain way. This is why I became jealous. This is why I became angry. This is why I get frustrated with other people. This is why I do things. And I think I finally figured out how to fix it. So there are epiphanies like that that
Mm,
come out of nowhere just by going through towns, seeing how different cultures interact with one another, or hearing the histories of people that came from certain places. If you're in one place here your entire life, you're not going to be able to get those different perspectives. So that's a change I'm seeing in me. I feel more at peace and calmer in life than I have ever have been in. I don't know if you have a similar, you don't have to get as deep as I just did, but I don't know if you have a similar thing that you found with yourself.
I'd say relationships for sure. And I don't know if I figured it out during the year or if it was sort of after the fact,
Hmm.
kind of looking at those patterns and now I've been married for 8 years. The activities from my book took place 13 years ago. So I have a lot of reverse perspective on all of this and just what I thought was acceptable in a relationship. That changed when I kind of just went out on my own and was like, I don't need anybody else's
Yes.
approval.
Yeah.
I don't actually need anyone else in my life to go have an amazing life.
Yes.
And I think I don't know if it's just cultural. I'm sure I know this happens to a lot of women in a lot of cultures where it's like you don't have value until you're wifed up
Yeah.
or until you have kids.
Yes.
And It's not quite that serious in where I come from, but there's definitely a this underlying current of if you don't do things this way, then what are you doing?
Right.
You're just kind of goofing around with your life. And I mean, I had an amazing job. I was perfectly successful. I paid my own bills. I lived in New York. I have no debt. Like I had a great credit score, all these great things. And the first boy the first boy, not even man, like, the first idiot who told me I'm pretty, I'm like, "Wow, great,
Yeah.
yay, oh, everything's great now." Instead of being like, "Oh, I actually have my life together. Everything's already great, and I don't need you,
Right.
bro."
Yeah.
But it did take me some time. It took me some time, and it took me let's just say that year abroad to determine that just because a guy has an accent doesn't mean he's Mr.
Yeah.
Darcy. It just that ain't it.
Yes.
Sometimes those guys are bad.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I did learn a lot about that.
No, that's so true. And I I try to stay quiet when people give me their responses, but so much of what you said, I'm just like, yes, preach it. Because so when I was prepping and talking for about a full 2 years before I made the move because there was just a bunch of stuff that had to be coordinated, and
Mhm.
every single person kept trying to talk me out of it, and I couldn't believe it.
Mm,
But again, in this year alone just proves I can trust my instincts and I don't need anybody
yes.
else. I am enough. That yes, that was a big thing. I'm also learning. I had that epiphany like 2 weeks ago of I am enough.
Mm, it's
Um
that's huge,
yeah,
that's huge, and you know what? It took me a long time to understand that specific point. Like, I can take care of myself. If I have intuition about something, I need to listen to that. If I have a desire to see the world, then I need to listen to that. I don't need everybody to rain on that parade.
right.
Thank you, everyone, for the concerns. But if I had listened to what all the people in life, and often very well intentioned, nobody was trying to bring me down or prevent me from living a great life. Mostly everyone just wants to keep you safe.
Right.
But safety is boring.
Yeah.
And if that's not what you're into, if that's not what you're wired for, then getting stuck in a life you never actually wanted is the worst possible thing that could happen. And so I'm glad that you if you're 29, you are either a very young millennial or the top of what, Gen Z?
I believe I'm like in the last 2 years of millennial. So I'm technically a millennial, which I'm very proud of.
Yes. Yes, and that's it's a very millennial thing we are doing, is breaking out of the mold that all the other women were put in for years and years and forever, and saying, actually, I'm gonna do it this way,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be better
Right.
because I'm gonna have that time to myself. I'm gonna have my 20s to myself to find out who I actually am before I go jumping into being in charge of everyone else's life. Because when you're a wife and a mom, you're not really having time for you
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah.
You don't get to figure out who you are. You're just keeping people alive. And to be able to live in a time where you have that luxury is just wow. Such a blessing.
Well,
My mom couldn't do it. My grandma couldn't do it,
yeah.
you know?
I remember my
This is
grandmother,
new.
yeah, I think also what shaped my desire to do it now, because to your point, when you are a female, there is an expectation of you go to, or at least in my family, it was emphasis on going to college. My father was the first
Mhm.
in his family to be able to do it, and her grandmother was the first female to go to college at the college that she went to. So college had a big
Mhm.
emphasis.
Wow.
And then it was going to getting a good job, which I worked in Broadway advertising before the pandemic.
Ooh.
And then I was expected to get married, and I had no desire and have children, and I had no desire to do the getting married and having children part of it. And a lot of my
Mm.
family, the cousins that I grew up with, they are in the process of the getting married and having children, and they're like, well, I'd rather do that young because then I can travel when I retire. And my grandmother sat me down and she said, listen, I if I were you, do the traveling first because there is no guarantee about
Mhm.
the retirement stuff. And that was, I didn't
Mhm.
travel for a very long time because my former partner that I was with for on and off for 7 years, he wanted to wait till retirement, and his father passed away relatively young. Like, he retired and passed away 2 years later, so he didn't get that travel portion of his life.
Ugh.
And so I kept trying to get him to understand, let's go together and travel together and do all these things now while we before we have the kids, because retirement age isn't guaranteed. And I'm so thankful my grandmother did that for me, but I'm also so thankful I didn't end up with that guy, because I got these travel experiences on my own where I could go and do the things that I've always wanted to do, and then be the really cool aunt with all the stories when my nieces and nephews are born later. Because there's still not, now even more
Yes.
so, not a desire that I feel the need to be married or have children. That's just like a nice cherry on top if it happens now. I don't feel that pressure.
Girl, you are going to love my book. This book is going to speak to you because I had the partner that didn't want to
Yeah.
travel, that thought a girl traveling alone, like when I went to study abroad or when I went to visit my uncle in Hawaii, that was trashy. Truly. He was
Oh,
like, "What will people think if you're traveling by yourself?" I'm like, well, I guess they'll think I'm traveling by myself. I don't know. What could they be possibly thinking, and why how does that affect me? I don't actually care, but it there was so many expectations. And yeah, it I don't think I ever had anybody sit me down and tell me, "Go ahead and do it anyway."
yeah. Yeah.
It was intuition and just the knowledge that I couldn't do things in the box that was made for me,
Yeah.
because I wasn't gonna be happy and I knew it. And it took me a long time to figure it out though. Like, I fought against it and I tried to do it, and it wasn't just me, like, there's a big faith portion in this, and I kinda am just along for the ride, and things keep turning out well for me, and I don't take credit for that, but but, yeah, I think I don't know, like, you never know what you're missing, what you could miss if you don't travel young or don't go for what you want young. Because like you said, like, what about, so the pandemic happened 4 years ago. People died. Lots of people
Yeah.
died very young and before retirement, or lots of people got sick, or lots of people got long COVID, and now they're struggling with day-to-day life. You can't go travel around the world for a year
Yeah.
when you've got a hard time breathing, or you just can't do it. So I that really weighed on me when I was younger. Like, I've got to go now. I just don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I had a little bit of a fatalist perspective, but
Yeah.
I was like, I think everybody when they're young, like, I'll never be old because you can't imagine it.
Oh, I
I always
I
thought being
always
40, oh my god, I'll be like in a retirement home.
right.
My knees will never make it. But I am really glad that I traveled, and especially once the pandemic happened and everything shut down, I thought, "Thank God I traveled." Because I would be thinking right now, "Wow, I never did all the things I wanted to do on this earth, and I don't know if I'll be able to do them because of the pandemic." We didn't know what was gonna
Right.
happen. You can travel again now, but for a while there, it was really touch and
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. So you keep bringing up your book, and I want to talk. Is this the Flirting with Disaster that you're referencing that's coming out soon? Is it already out, or
It came out
that's so
yesterday.
exciting.
It came out yesterday.
Congratulations. So what made you want to put all of
Thank
this
you.
into a book, your experiences and such?
Gosh, so many things. I always wanted to write a book. When you're a little voracious reader like I was, it was like I was definitely going to do that. And I always was a writer, and it was just kind of the obvious thing I was going to do, but there was a lot of opposition to it. There's a lot of people that tell you, no, you can't because this, it's really hard. You'll never get a this. Advances are no good. You can never make a living. So it was really fighting a lot of those kind of you can't do it.
Mhm.
And anytime somebody tells me I can't do it, I'm like, watch me do it then. That's exactly what I need to hear to actually go and do it. So um always knew I would write a book. Even going into planning this year, that was I think Eat, Pray, Love had just come out in the movies. So I'd read it a long time before that, and then I'd seen it in the movies, and I was just I felt like I kind of had this permission to even think like that. Like maybe it'll be a good story. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll write a book about it someday. At that time, I also had a couple of friends called the Lost Girls, and they had just done a round the world trip together and gotten a book published about it. And so just seeing other people sort of like me doing it, I'm like, man, maybe I could too. We'll see. And then I went and had the adventure, and it was an adventure. So all the crazy things that were happening, I was like, yeah, no, this could definitely be a book. Somebody might read this. And then I said it was 13 years from when I left to pub day. And I spent probably 9 of those years fighting with myself about it, like knowing there was a book there that I needed to write, but fighting with myself and imposter syndrome and just nobody wants to read your stupid story. Like people have already traveled around the world and written about it. Like that's not that big of a deal. And so there was a lot of internal conflict there getting to the point where I even started putting pen to paper and I just felt like I needed to do it. And I knew that I wanted to do it I wanted to go the traditional publishing route. I knew that I wanted that. And I just kind of kept pushing and then it happened. So it sounds easier than it was, but it was really quite the roller coaster. It was a roller coaster.
Are you glad that it took that time, though? Was it important to have time and space between your adventures and when you wrote that put pen to paper, so to speak? Or is it easier to do it when it's all
Yes.
fresh in your
It
mind, all the adventures that you had gone on and all the stories that happened?
it made No, I think it made all the difference because the big adventures and like the main disasters, those aren't going anywhere in my
Yeah.
memory. I have copious notes and photographs, and then all these things were pretty big. So I didn't lose sort of those big memories, but it did give me some time to like put it all together in a compelling story. And it reads more like a novel, I think. Um
As opposed
it's
to,
really fast
okay.
paced. As opposed to just like I went to Egypt and then I went to
Gotcha,
Kenya and then I
gotcha.
went to South Africa
Yeah.
and I saw some giraffes.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's there's plot points and there's relationships and I wanted to make it so compelling that people couldn't put it down. And I knew there was a story in there. I just had to hack away at the stuff that I initially thought was important. And you leave a lot on the cutting room floor. I think my first draft was like 120,000 words
Mm.
and the final is like 80,000. So there's a lot of stuff I cut out, but I think the story is stronger for it. It is a fast zip through 13 countries. It just really takes you on this journey, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be I feel like I read a lot of reviews for travel memoirs, and the biggest complaint I see is that it's just kind of boring. You're
Yeah.
just linear and you're from here to here to here to here, boring, and nothing ever really happens. It's just like, and then I saw a this, and then I met a person, and I don't know, it doesn't draw you in. So I wanted it to be really compelling, and I'm so happy with it. The initial feedback I'm getting just from people who read it yesterday, literally yesterday, is that they like it.
That's
So
amazing.
that's exciting.
That is so
It's
exciting.
very gratifying, and I've been doing a lot of crying. Like, every time I see somebody share a picture and they're just like, "This is so great," I'm just crying a lot because 'cause I'm very happy.
Yeah.
It was this labor of love, and I really didn't know if it was gonna pan out because it is vulnerable. I do not write about this stuff on my blog.
Yeah.
I do not write about relationships. I do not talk about my family and my history and my childhood. It's My blog is like, would you like to go to Kenya? Here, 10 tips to go to Kenya, because that's what is valued on the internet now.
Right.
It's user intent. It's not, here's my personal story. And, I hope it, I hope it resonates with you, 29-year-old girls.
Right.
So it's much, much more personal. So it was a risk, and I, honest to God, I can't say if it pays off yet. Have no idea. All I know is there's a book out there and a lot of people are reading it at this moment. And that gives me so much anxiety, but also happiness. So again, always a roller coaster.
I can't. I'm actually, as soon as we sign off, because our stories are so similar, especially, I'm almost done with my journey. I wish I had this before I started. I wish I had this
Mm,
2 years ago, but it's better late than
yeah.
never. I can't wait to purchase it and read it. And I know my grandmother will also, because her and I read books together. We have like our own mini book club.
Oh,
So,
that's so
yeah.
cute. That's so cute.
So I can't wait.
Yes, my grandma's reading it
Yeah.
too.
um, what made you decide that you wanted to be so vulnerable in your book? Did you just say, if I'm going to commit to it, I have to go full throttle and it is what it is? Or was that a big discussion point with either your editor or your partner or whoever was involved in the decisions made with this book? What helped you make that decision?
No, I think it was all me. Like a lot of, like I said, wrestling with self-doubt and just the idea, like, who cares? Who cares about your life? You're not that special. Your stories aren't that different. Like, why write a book? But I think anybody who writes a book struggles with that at some point because technically there's no new ideas,
Right.
right? I mean, there's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of books in a bookstore. And it would stress me out every time I went to a bookstore and I'd just say, I what do I have to add that hasn't already been said? And I think that's why I'm a memoirist, because the only thing I can add is my own story, because that is the only thing that nobody else can tell is the story and the things that I've been through. So there was that. And then just the idea of being vulnerable, as scary as it was and is for me to kind of be that open about stuff that I'm not normally that open about, it's just the idea that other people need to hear it, that there are women in their teens and 20s who feel boxed in and just maybe need a permission slip to say, oh, I don't have to do it this way. And guess what? If I don't, the world is not going to, like, we're not in an apocalypse if I don't have a baby. Some people might be disappointed, but it's going to be okay. And if you do want to have a baby, that's awesome too. It's definitely not a judgy and you have to do it this way or you're crazy kind of situation. It's just, what is your path? Be okay in figuring out what works for you, because we're all wired differently and everybody's got their own path that they're supposed to walk. We cannot all be in the same box just because we're women. So
Yeah, I definitely went
that's
through
kind of how I decided. But
Yeah, I definitely went through
go
a
ahead.
similar thing with doing my own blog and a podcast, and it really came from family feedback, honestly, more so than anything, because I felt the same way as you of no one's going to care, no one's going to listen, no one's going to do this or that or the other thing, and what do I have to offer that's different? And I had a lot of different ideas of creative outlets I wanted to have for a really long time and just never had the courage to do it. And then you realize
Mm.
I am me. And I know people like to be like, oh, you're such a snowflake. But there is some essence of truth to that of everybody is different. So your story is simply going to be different simply because you are you. And that's all that is necessary to bring something different to the table. And what a boring world it would be if we all had the same story. Your perspective is inherently going to be different from mine because we're two different people. Doesn't mean, although we do have a lot of overlap in you and I and how
Me
we
too.
approach it, but inherently our experiences, if I were to write a book 10 years down the line, it would have to be different from yours just naturally. I feel like I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh man, I just could talk to you for days. I feel like you might randomly get emails from me with just questions, like philosophical questions about the
Hey,
world and life.
I love that.
Yeah.
See,
um,
I love that. And I love that there's a generation coming up now that is doing this.
yes.
That is saying, "Oh, yeah, no, like thank you for the suggestions everyone, but I'm actually going to go do something else." And that's going to work for me. Like maybe you don't need I don't need to make 7 figures a year to be successful. Good. Me
Mhm.
neither. Like that, so what? That's not what I wanted out of life. I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder. And somehow I ended up on the corporate ladder. And I was like, what am I doing on the corporate ladder?
Yes.
Like, I don't care about this. And I was caring about promotions, I was like, since when do I care about promotions? I actually don't care. I just want to work and be good at what I do and be entertained
Yes.
with what I do
Yes.
and have value and just be satisfied. Like I think those are okay things to want. And I came from two just unbelievably hardworking parents who mostly hated their jobs
Right.
for the entirety of the time.
Hmm.
And I was so, when I was in college, I was so stressed about graduating because, like, I have to work, thinking that the only option for work was a soul sucking job because that's all I'd ever seen is
Right.
people basically hate their jobs.
Right.
And so, I was the first one to go to college. So I had a lot more choices. And I did. I figured it out within 2 years what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And that's how I ended up in New York working in travel. But if you don't have permission to do that, you're going to have to give it to yourself
It's interesting.
and trust
Yeah.
yourself that you can take care of yourself.
When you were speaking to, that we're the first generation that's able to use the freedom that women that came before us fought so hard for us to have, and we are taking full advantage of it. And I am on this adventure, and I have this thing that I do with I have a little cousin that's 7, and I have a 16-year-old sister. And my 16-year-old sister has got the bug. She wants to travel so bad, and I can't wait to be able to take her on adventures with me. We've started to do that a
Oh,
little bit together, but I can't wait for her to be done with school so we could do it more often. But my little cousin,
now you're saying my story.
yes,
I have the same story with my little sister.
yes.
Love it.
And then my little cousin that's 7, I really take it to heart of I am the only female that she has at this age and time in her life that isn't married and having children. And I'm nowhere near getting married or having children. And chances are maybe never will do that. And I send her postcards everywhere I go to inspire her to kind of do her own path. um, to that she doesn't have to do
Yes,
it the way that all of the other family members have done it. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I want her to know she has
exactly.
options. And so,
Yes.
what do you say to the 7-year-old girl right now that might be listening, or to the 16-year-old girl that might be listening to this, wanting to do these solo travel things? And they have family members that are a little bit trepidatious of them doing that, and obviously don't do it solo at 7 or 16, guys. It's not what I'm saying. But
Right.
are there
Right.
is there anything that you could say to them of, present your family members with these tr- safety tips or things that they could do to help put their family members at ease so they could go forward with confidence?
Hmm. Oh gosh, I have so many things swirling in my brain. I don't want to forget any of them. I told my family a lot of travel tips and I gave them a lot of examples of people I knew, women I knew who were traveling alone, and it didn't make a difference. They were still horrified. Everyone still forbade me from traveling the world like as I was leaving. It's like, "Okay, bye." But I would say don't bother with that because they'll never listen to you. Just and the other thing, when you're 7 or you're 16, there's all this pressure to like what do you want to be when you grow up? AKA what's the one thing that you're going to fit yourself into and start thinking about right now and pressure yourself into getting into X college and doing this and fitting the mold. That's not actually realistic anymore. And nobody does one thing for the rest of their life anymore. I should say few people. I know some people who like always knew they wanted to be a doctor. Always from the time they were little and then they did it and that is amazing. But I feel like that's rare. And most people are wired to do a lot of different things. So I would say when you're 7, when you're 16, journal a ton. Write everything down, what you think, what you feel, what your dreams are, because those things are going to shape and evolve over time. But at least you'll have a record and you can see the threads. And so as you get to a point where you're a little bit older and you are ready to travel the world or do like a baby trip, go out and travel for 2 weeks on a group trip or something just to get your feet wet. Those things will then start to inform you. But writing it all down young figuring out who you are young. Take personality tests, figure out the things that you're good at naturally. Like I was always good at writing and always good at words. So how come I wasn't leaning toward that? Because I was like, well, I have to do this because I'm smart, so I should probably be a lawyer or a doctor. That was the whole idea. I didn't want to be a lawyer or a doctor. But that's kind of where the funnel was for the gifted kids. They were like, "Oh yeah, everybody goes to Ivy League school." I'm like, "But why?" And so just say but why. When you bump up against something, ask why is it like that? Why is the expectation like that? Is this your desire or is this an external expectation put on you? And once you start figuring those things out, you're in a much better place to decide what you really want. I mean, some people love a 9 to 5 job that is stable. I mean, a stable paycheck is kind of amazing. As someone who
Yeah.
hasn't had one in 13 years, it's kind of amazing.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
wonderful, brilliant thing. And so is health insurance. Like, yay for all those things. Um, so nothing is wrong with that. It's just, is it what you really want? Is it the desire of your heart? Because life is too short. The pandemic taught us that. If you've ever lost a young person in your life, we know, like, you just don't know what tomorrow's going to be. And it's so cliche, but it's so
Yeah.
true. But you just don't want to live with those kind of regrets.
Well, it's cliche for a reason, right? Yeah. So when you did your trip abroad, you did your solo travel, was it a big adjustment to have to travel with other people again? Because I find that I'm having a hard time having to take other people's wants and desires into consideration. Like my dad is coming to visit me, and we're doing this big trip throughout Italy to go visit where his father's family came from, and having to take his wants and desires into consideration. I no longer know how to do that, and it's a big
Yeah,
adjustment. Did you have the same
it
experience?
definitely is. Yeah, it definitely can be. I would say the person right after I finished my big trip and then kind of turned into a content creator, full-time travel writer, I mostly just traveled with my sister. And she and I are essentially of one brain. So there's no issues there. There's no taking anything into account. We just both want what the other one wants, and so
Mhm.
it's very very easy. And then once I got married, my husband is the other person I travel with the most, and he is so chill. He does not care
That's
what
nice.
we do, where we do it. He doesn't know where we are. Like when we get on a plane, he's like, "Wait, what is this vacation? Where are we going?" He's like along for the ride. He's so chill. So I fortunately have people that are not difficult to travel with in my life. Every so often I'll travel with another content creator friend. And because we have the same priorities, which is usually gathering content, those folks are easy to travel with too, because we know we got to get up at sunrise because we got to get the good light
Yeah.
and we have to go to the sunset. We know those kind of things about each other. So it's been quite a long time since I've traveled with someone who either wasn't my immediate family member, my spouse, or a friend in my industry. So I don't know. I imagine if I went with someone outside of those bounds, it might be pretty tough because
Yeah.
other people have other priorities.
I'm starting to
Yeah,
learn
that could be tough.
I'm starting to learn to put more boundaries and start saying no to folks of certain personality types that wanna travel with me.
Mm.
Um,
Yes, that
yeah.
is a good thing to learn. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I know we're about to wrap up soon. I just have some silly questions before I get to. I do rapid fire wrap up questions at the end of every
Ooh.
episode. So my few silly questions before we get to that is, what are the Harry Potter destinations that you've been able to travel to? Because I've pretty much done as many as I'm aware of, and I'm curious if you have any further ones that I could go visit as well. In addition,
Um, Hmm. I've done several in England. I'm trying to think if I've done any anywhere else other than, I know that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando is not actually like a Harry Potter location, but I have
mhm.
spent quite a lot of time there. A significant amount of time. You will read about that in the book. But
Yes.
yeah, just England spots, the studios in what is it? In London and platform 9 3/4 and various spots out in the Cotswolds and in Oxford. So here and there,
I would
I'm always trying to mix Harry Potter and Jane Austen and Lord of the Rings if I'm in New Zealand. I like to mix them all in. There's
I
a lot of literary influence in my things.
I planned a trip with my friend. We were doing a weekend trip in Edinburgh, and I went there because someone said that it was one of the best places they ever went to if you have celiac and need to eat gluten-free meals. So I was like, great, a weekend where I can just have plenty of options for food. Let's go do that. And the week before, I learned that that's where J.K. Rowling lives, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for sets in the books came from. There's a cemetery there where she got like Tom Riddle and Professor McGonagall's names from.
Mm,
So that was a fun and
amazing.
interesting experience. It felt a little weird to be in a
I
cemetery and
haven't
see
been to
people
Scotland.
taking. You'll have to go to Edinburgh if you're a Harry Potter fan.
Yes.
It's really cool.
It is very much on my list because I do love me some Harry Potter. And is it Wales where the beach is, where maybe Dobby's grave is? I think it's in Wales. I see people visiting Dobby's grave. It's so cute.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a strange thing to go to certain locations. Where it's grave sites, like actual people's graves, like Tom
Yeah,
Riddle's grave or the McGonagall grave, and people taking selfies with it. It's
right.
like that feels a little disrespectful, but I understand what you're doing. It's always
Yeah,
a
a little bit
weird.
strange.
Yeah. My last silly question before we do the wrap up questions. You said that you have a Universal versus Disney mindset. Do you have a preference of one over the other?
Oh, I don't know. Do I want to go on the record? Yeah, okay, I will. I think it's probably universal. I think I grew up as a Disney kid, living 3 hours from Disney. It was the most amazing thing that could happen to us on any given weekend if we got to go to Disney
Hmm.
World. So definitely a Disney kid growing up. And then because I worked with Universal for, gosh, a long time, almost 10 years on and off, on Harry Potter things and other launches, I think I just kind of fell in love with it. I love the backstories. I love the creativity. I love the attention to detail that they put into things. Like there is no other theme park land in the world like Wizarding World for detail, and I mean down to the paint colors. It is just all so detailed, and you got to love that if you're a word person. I imagine if I created fantasy worlds to be able to see those come to life in such vivid, with so much dedication from the creatives. Like it's just amazing. Honestly, every time I work a Universal event or even just visit there, I kind of tear up because I'm just like, I'm so proud of everyone. Everyone's so good at their jobs. Like it's just great. And I don't know, just very passionate about it. And I love a good roller coaster. And I want to say Universal has more roller coasters, more thrill rides, more grown up stuff. So it's a little more fun. I'll still go to Disney. I still love it, but man, they let a lot of kids in that place.
I'm going to Disney Euro for the first time in a few weeks. It's my birthday present to myself. So I'm curious.
Fun.
I've only ever been to Disney World. I went to
Mm.
Universal for the first time 2 years ago because I was there on a work trip and I extended my stay so that I could check out Universal. And I just did not. I maybe I need to go with someone. Maybe you need to take me around Universal to show me how to
I
appreciate
will
it.
take you. I will take you and I will give you the best tour you've ever had. I
Perfect.
always feel bad for people who go with me because they're like, please stop talking. They're like, please stop telling me every single detail of everything ever. But I know a lot of details and I just love to share them. I really was thinking for a while there I should start my own little like behind the scenes Universal tour company, but I think that's
Yeah.
illegal. So I don't think I'm actually allowed to do that. But I do love to go with people. So next time you come back, I will absolutely go with you.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'm very excited. Because I'm the type of person that likes to hear about all these details. So for the wrap up questions, and this is just rapid fire. And if you have more than one answer to these questions, feel free. And I will not ask you where your favorite place you've ever been to, but I will ask about specific details in the eat, explore, love vein. So what's this? What's the
Okay.
safest place to visit or that you felt safest in as a solo female traveler?
That's tricky just because so many factors go into safety. I don't feel safe in my own hometown. So hard to say other places, other places are safe or unsafe.
It's
I
totally
think every
fair.
place has its own kind of deal, but the safest places sort of that I've ever been are like far flung islands where there aren't huge resorts. And I think of the Bahamas. There are some islands in the Bahamas that crime is unheard of.
Interesting.
It's just unheard of. And I would leave my camera on the dock and my shoes would be over there and my phone would be over there and you wouldn't have to worry about it. And it's still like that in so many places there. And similarly, some places I visited in Fiji, just there really are quite a lot of places that you can just go and have no stress. There's another place that's popping into my head, but where it actually is not popping into my head. Probably like think about the
Okay.
Cotswolds in England. That is such a wholesome, safe place. My sister and her husband just did the Cotswold Way, which is like a 110-mile
Oh,
walk,
wow.
and it was so wholesome. It was so lovely. Like nobody's bothering you, nobody's pickpocketing
Right.
you. Now, an hour away, you've got London, which could be
Yeah.
safe, or could not be safe. It just depends. So I would say probably smaller cities, towns, islands, off the beaten track are usually a better bet. But I would always check with somebody who knows before you go. I wouldn't just like leave my camera around because it's a small place. Because there's sketchy people everywhere.
Favorite food city that you've visited?
Favorite food city? Hmm. Is it weird if I say New York?
No.
Because New York has
Yeah,
everything.
no, not.
I love New York. New York has the best food. Even though I always eat at the same like 5 restaurants.
Yes.
When I go back to visit all my little Hell's Kitchen holdouts, I always go there.
Same, if it makes you feel better, same with me. I always have the same two places that I go to. Favorite city to explore?
Ooh, that's so tough. So tough. Ah, mm, Favorite international city to explore, let's say. I have to say London. There's such an ease of use just because everything's in English.
Yes.
And so that takes that takes the big language barrier away and does make it a little bit easier to get to the nitty-gritty. And there's so many layers of history in
Yeah.
London. And I love that you can be be taking a ride on the oldest like subway train, I think, in the world. And then you can get off and you're standing next to Roman ruins that
Right.
everything's built up around.
Right.
And then you can get out above ground and see brand new skyscrapers
Mhm.
that are incredible and gorgeous. And you can go, I forget what they call it. They're like rustling around for archaeological treasures in the river bed. You can do that. You just scoop up Roman coins and old pipes and all this cool stuff. Like it's just such a city of layers. So you can explore there every day and just find something different. I love that. I love London.
I agree with you. Do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or relax?
I've been trying to find a vacation where I could be relaxed for 42 years and have yet to do that. I ideally always want that and I also never do that. And my husband's the same way. We're like, let's not plan anything. We're really going to relax this time. I'm bringing 3 books with me and we're going to sit by the pool. We never do that. We'll get up to go, oh, we're just going to go on a quick walk to the waterfall. And like 8 hours later, covered in
Right.
mud, we're back. And it just turns into a big hike. We cannot sit still and relax. It is not something we're good at. So I don't know. But there's something to be said for being out of cell service at
Yes.
least. And it can be relaxing even if you're hiking and getting dirty or getting up to shenanigans. Like it's relaxing because your brain's doing a different thing.
Yeah.
So it might not be sedentary.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out sedentary travel yet.
What's the city where you learned the most about yourself?
Oof, the city where I learned the most about myself. Well, I must say New York because I was there for 5 years and they were very formative years. It was post college and pre-travel content creator career, so that was I don't know, that was me jumping into the frying pan basically in PR agency life and figuring out guys and dating and relationships and all that stuff. It had to be New York. It was, they always say New York is like the character, the extra character in every story that's set in New York, and it
Yes.
was totally like that for me.
Yep. Yeah.
It was its own character.
And where my last question for you is if people are feeling like they're your best friend just by listening to this podcast, which I feel like I'm not sure if we're the same person or if we're coming out of this as best of friends, but where can people find you? Can they find, obviously, they need to get your book, Flirting with Disaster, which is out. And where can they get the book and where can they find you?
So the book is anywhere books are sold. So you can get on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. All book retailers should have it as of yesterday. There's also an audiobook narrated by me. And as far as where to find me, I am all over the place. I'm on every social network as Angie Away, AWAY. I have a blog, angieaway.com. That's where I have tips and itineraries and helpful stuff. And then my sister and I have a podcast. It's called But Did You Die with the Jet Sisters. And we do throw some helpful travel tips in there, but there's a lot of sisterly shenanigans. And we talk about what goes wrong on trips and kind of how to move past it. And did you die? And obviously the answer thus far is no, we lived, because we're still here recording podcasts. And then the other place that I can be found a lot is I'm the host of Traveling with AAA, which is AAA's big travel podcast. And so we do weekly episodes there, and all the podcasts are available everywhere that you find podcasts.
Amazing. So I will make sure to follow your podcasts. I have Amazon open now to purchase your book. And I will be getting an extra copy for my mini book club of me and my grandmother.
He's gonna love
I'm
it.
so excited to read it. And this was a lovely conversation, Angie. Thank you so much for this hour and time that you spent with me.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for having me on. And I guess we're definitely best friends now. And please come visit me in Florida. I will take you to the theme parks and give you the private tour.
Amazing, amazing. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I have already started reading Angie's book, and it's amazing. I hope you buy yourself a copy and read it as well. It's definitely inspiring and incredibly validating for me anyway. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, please feel free to reach out to hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. See you next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on eerily.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.